Devastating flooding across central Texas. At least 70 dead so far across 5 counties, with flood warnings still in effect in multiple counties. 11 campers and 1 counselor still missing from Camp Mystic, a popular Christian camp located along the shores of the Guadalupe River, which has already seen 5 of its campers confirmed dead. The New York Post reporting the youngest campers were sleeping in their cabins just over 200 feet from the river's edge when the flash flooding began early July 4th morning. In a matter of a few hours, the river rising from 1 to 34 feet, with enough force to push RVs, lift massive boulders, and rip fully grown trees out of the ground from the root, leaving a trail of destruction across the Texas Hill Country. Crews working night and day to locate displaced victims across the region, searching for children and adults, so far making more than 850 rescues. Adult camper Brian Eads describing the experience to a local NBC station on Saturday.
Woke up about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was just torrential river coming through the campground. Got my wife up. We tried to make it to my truck. We didn't make it. We were washed away. Got into another truck. He was able to get it started. We made it 20 feet, a fight for survival at that time. Me and my wife got separated. I grabbed a hold of one tree. I was trying to push something for her to float on. I took a tumble in the river. I came back up, and I couldn't see her. I couldn't hear her.
Mr. Eads' wife did not survive. Amid the devastation, also some miracles. A local CBS station describing a young woman surviving under seemingly impossible odds.
And if there's any hope in this story, it's that this 22-year-old woman went into the water in the Ingram, Texas area.
In recent news, Megyn Kelly delivers a devastating update on the deadly flooding in central Texas that caught many off guard. With over 70 dead and lingering questions over weather warnings and government preparedness, tensions are rising. Accusations are flying about whether budget cuts and mismanagement made this tragedy worse. Let's break this down together.
Which is about 20 miles upstream. She had been in the tree for several hours at that point already because she was swept out of her campground, out of her tent at 4 o'clock in the morning. Firefighters, the paramedics checked her vitals. She had a few bumps and bruises, and they said that was amazing because she had gone over 4 dams and been dropped. She told them the story of fighting refrigerators, dodging recreational vehicles as she traveled down that long 20-mile stretch of being wiped away.
President Trump Sunday morning signing a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, freeing up additional resources for rescue and recovery efforts. Throughout the weekend, questions and accusations swirling about the level of warnings before the natural disaster. Texas Division of Emergency Management Chief Nim Kidd saying original forecasts from the National Weather Service did not predict the level of rainfall that was to come.
The original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. Everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
Some seizing on those comments to point to the Trump administration's cuts to the National Weather Service earlier this year through DOGE. CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem, who never misses a chance to bash Trump, posting to X, quote, "The question we have to ask is whether any ability to notify or warn was impacted by decreases or DOGE on weather services."
This sharp call-out from CNN analyst Juliette Kayyem highlights fears that budget cuts under the Trump administration may have degraded the National Weather Service's ability to warn vulnerable communities in time.
I don't know the answer, and we can't assume it. The camp may have been isolated, but I'd want to know if I were a parent. That narrative quickly taking off online and through legacy media outlets. The New York Times' report on the tragedy headlined, "As floods hit, key roles were vacant at Weather Service offices in Texas," focusing on staffing shortages within the National Weather Service, some of which were DOGE-related and some of which predated the current Trump administration. However, there's more to the story. Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice describing the unusual conditions causing the rapid flooding, for one.
under normal conditions, if you call it that, you'll hit water in one of those areas, and those two forks will converge into the Guadalupe, which comes through the city of Kerrville. This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood. So there's not alarms everywhere on the river. No, sir.
Rice saying that local officials remained in constant contact with the National Weather Service, but the speed and scale of the flooding could not have been predicted.
Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice's explanation reveals just how unexpectedly catastrophic this flooding was, exposing the limits of forecasting and leaving many questioning the adequacy of emergency measures.
I was running the river trail at 3 a.m. this morning. There was no signs of it. The rain was here on the river trail, which is down below at the water's edge at 3:30 and 4 o'clock when I left. There was no signs of it rising at that point. This happened very quickly over a very short amount of time that could not be predicted, even with the radar. Our team constantly reviews radar, constantly has NWS, or National Weather Service messages. We send them out on a regular basis and we communicate effectively. This is not like a tornado where you can have a siren. This is not like a hurricane where you're planning weeks in advance. It hit hard, and things like this happen in a very strategic, very isolated area. And when those two things converged, you had what happened today. So this happened within less than a 2-hour span, very, very quickly.
The Associated Press reporting the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which is responsible for forecasting that area, actually had extra staff on duty during the storm. The rain began falling around midnight, the NWS issuing its first flash flood warning at 1:14 a.m. local time on Friday. The Texas Tribune, reporting all National Weather Service flash flood warnings, set off emergency push notifications through cell phone towers. The service reportedly updating that warning 9 times throughout Friday. At 4:03 a.m., the most serious warning, a flash flood emergency, warning of a, quote, extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. The Texas Tribune reporting, quote, the timing of the flood may have been a complicating factor. The alerts came out during the start of the 4th of July weekend, when RV parks, cabins, and homes are filled with tourists who might not be familiar with the flood risks or the habits of the water. An independent meteorologist based out of Houston, Matt Lanza, writing on Substack, quote, we have seen absolutely nothing to suggest that current staffing or budget issues within NOAA or the NWS played any role at all in this event.
This expert meteorologist's statement directly challenges the growing narrative blaming staffing cuts, underscoring the complex realities behind natural disasters, where tragedy is rarely caused by a single factor.
Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly telling the AP several years back the county considered a flood warning system along the river that would have functioned like a tornado warning system, but the idea never took off because of the expense. Meteorologist James Spann posting to X, quote, one takeaway is the importance of having a NOAA weather radio at every home, business, and any place where there are large numbers of people gathered, like a camp on a river. I would imagine cell service is spotty along the Guadalupe where the camps were located. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem at a Saturday briefing saying the Trump administration is committed to upgrading national weather systems.
The National Weather Service over the years at times has done well, and at times we have all wanted more time and more warning and more alerts and more notification. That is something, and one of the reasons that when President Trump took office that he said he wanted to fix, and is currently upgrading the technology. And the National Weather Service has indicated that with that and NOAA that we needed to renew this ancient system that has been left in place with the federal government for many, many years, and that is the reforms that are ongoing there.
On Sunday from Rome, Pope Leo offering a special blessing for those impacted by this terrible tragedy.
I would like to express sincere condolences to all the families who have lost loved ones, in particular their daughters who were at summer camp in the disaster caused by the flooding of the Guadalupe River in Texas in the United States. We pray for them.
Coming up, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House today as Israeli officials negotiate toward a ceasefire deal with Hamas. And Elon Musk forms a new political party, ruffling many feathers on the right. It wasn't supposed to get this bad. Remember the time when you actually were on top of your bills? Then inflation hit, groceries, gas, everything shot up, prices up 26% from just a few years ago. It's not necessarily your fault if you have fallen into real debt. Let me share a smarter, faster, far easier way out of it. It's called Done with Debt, and they are not like other debt relief companies. They don't push loans or bankruptcy on you. Done with Debt has legendary negotiators who go head-to-head with your credit card and loan companies, and they have one goal: to drastically reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. They move lightning fast. Most clients see more money in their pocket month one. But a word to the wise, hurry, because some of their debt erasing strategies are time sensitive, so consider talking to a Done with Debt strategist before you make another bill payment. It's free. Visit
The tragic flooding
donewithdebt.com,
in Texas shows how
donewithdebt.com.
natural disasters can overwhelm communities, despite emergency services working tirelessly. With debates raging over whether government budget cuts hurt warning systems, it's a critical moment to examine how prepared we truly are. The story also reminds us of the human cost behind policy decisions. Drop your take below. Could this have been prevented? What lessons must lawmakers learn?